Today, I'm going to tell you what the objectively best models of 2023 were. I'm also going to tell you what the objectively worst models of 2023 were too. And some of these choices might shock you. They might inspire hate, and no doubt they're going to be a massive surprise. I know they surprised me, but like Jesus, I only speak the truth. So witness my blacklisting from the entire miniature wargame industry as I call some miniatures amazing and some other miniatures totally trash. And join me for the Discourse Minis Max Mini Award of 2023. And we're starting the awards with a bang because the 5th worst miniatures of the year are going to be a controversial choice. Now, it's hard to imagine models that would have looked a lot better as an upgrade sprue, but these miniatures managed to do just that. Because the 5th worst models of the year are the Space Marine Jump Pack Intercessors from Games Workshop, Ballet Edition. These are expensive models, and they don't even have the good grace to look good. Repeated poses, repeated sculpts, repeated gribblies. And of course, the most awkward balancing act ever conceived of on a model. Take all of these together, and you've got the 5th worst miniatures of the year. In fact, they were so bad that they actually highlighted to me just what a copy and paste job most new Space Marine releases are from Games Workshop these days. Now, I'm recording this in December, and for me, December is like the Aliens month. One of my favorite franchises. Alien is a Christmas movie, and I don't care what anyone says. And as a result, I've been playing the hell out of Aliens Another Glorious Day in the core. And aside from having the longest, most awkward to say name ever, this game is really good. One of my standout favorite mini games of the last few years. However, it does have one major flaw, and it is these. This is an alien, a xenomorph, and the model looks really cool. It even matches the alien perfectly. It doesn't need to be painted at all. It's black plastic, all ready to play straight out of the box. But, it is such an awkward model to play with. It has this massive tail that gets in the way, makes it impossible to transport. These are so notoriously bad that in the community there are endless conversations about how to magnetize these tails or whether to simply never glue them onto the model in the first place. And the Aliens minigame is quite a constrained experience. Like a better version of Space Hulk, it takes place on a bunch of boards. So you've got to pack these guys tightly together on the table, and it's very hard to play with them. Now, Star Wars Shatterpoint burst onto the scene this year with a massive core box set and then a whole bunch of models all released separately. And while I have a lot of issues with the game, mostly with the pricing and the business model, the miniatures themselves have been pretty sweet, even if they have come with some major design flaws like lightsabers that are so fragile and thin that you may as well snip them off and replace them with glass. But that all said, there are some treats here, treats that totally shocked me because I did not expect the likelies, specifically the Mandalorians that came in the core box set. I wanna wash my tongue out for saying that. See, Star Wars Shatterpoint had a really hard job. It had to convince me that the Star Wars animated series aesthetic looks good. It's an aesthetic that I detest, and it kind of succeeded in that task. I mean, you can't wipe that Yoda from my memory, but these Mandalorians almost transcended all that, mostly because of the poses. See, the depth of details on these minis is fine. I don't think that there is anything to write home about, but the dynamism of the poses are brilliant. They're super combat oriented, and AMG have actually managed to make flying miniatures look good, unlike a certain workshop of games. I much prefer the billowing smoke coming out of the jetpack compared to tippy toe action. And while I usually prefer flight stands, for these kinds of models, in this specific case, it really suits the cartoon style of Star Wars Shatterpoint to have billowing smoke pumping out of the jetpacks. These are well sculpted and well done, and they're the 5th best model of 2023. Okay, so I did not expect this to be on the list when I started this journey, but my god, I could not get these nipples out of my mind. So fans of the channel will know that as much as I think night models are run pretty poorly and their models are expensive, I am still a massive fan of their sculpts and their miniatures, especially for the Batman miniatures game. I think they have some of the best miniatures in the industry, and I just can't deny it. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And they had a pretty good year of releases in 2023 as far as models go. Between Scarecrow to Spoiler to Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito, we saw it all. Oh, because yes, that's right, they released a whole bunch of movie tie-ins this year. And the best release, without a doubt, the most unforgettable, was the Batman and Robin George Clooney 1997 Batman miniature. Oh baby, my god, what a nostalgia bomb. I love this model, but what I find so impressive with it is that 9 models have actually managed to completely nail George Clooney's face. Look at this. Compare them side by side. Which is real and which is plastic? You literally can't tell. Admittedly, one of them is 50% plastic. It's so hard to sculpt miniatures to actually look like actors, or in the case of Games Workshop models, humans. But 9 models really outdid themselves with this one, and then they went one step further and threw on some bat nipples. How could I say no? And that's why Batman and Robin 1997 is the 4th best model of the year. And you know what? It was actually really hard to figure out which models I built and painted this year that also happened to have come out in 2023. I had to go on some extremely shady websites to do so. Have you ever seen North Star Gaming? I mean, look at that list menu. There's clearly someone spying on me. So that's why I use CyberGhost. It's the best VPN out there for anonymity and privacy. CyberGhost VPN encrypts your virtual locations and hides you from malicious actors while browsing the internet on Windows, macOS, Android, iOS, and more. Protect yourself and your precious electronics with CyberGhost VPN. Also, there is a bonus. If you like to watch content online, then you really need to get CyberGhost VPN. Otherwise, you're missing out on a ton of content. The entirety of Warhammer Plus in Canada, for example. See, streaming platforms online like Netflix and Disney Plus geo-block their content, deciding who should see what depending on where they live. But if you connect to the CyberGhost global servers, then you'll get access to everything that those platforms offer, regardless of where you live. It's really easy to do. Just click a button and suddenly you're in an exotic country like Germany. Germany. It's definitely not a real country. It doesn't sound real. It's totally made up. Commenters are lying. It's all one big elaborate trick on me. But CyberGhost have given me their best deal ever at just $2.03 a month, plus 4 months free, which is 84% off overall. And that's just fantastic. And hell, they even have a 45 days money back guarantee, so everything is totally risk-free. Sign up today using my link at cyberghostvpn.com/discourseminis and see for yourself. And you'll even get it for up to 7 different devices, which you can share with family and friends. CyberGhost VPN has more than 38 million users and excellent rates on Trustpilot, so it's definitely one of the best products on the market. Help support the channel, check them out via the link in the description below, and thanks for sponsoring today's video, CyberGhost. And now a PSA, anyone of a nervous disposition, I'm gonna have to ask you to look away from the screen right now, because what I'm about to show you may shock and horrify you in equal measure. Admittedly, the quality of the next miniature is actually really good. It's just that the miniature itself was cursed by God, because here it is. Look at it. Look at this unholy abomination. This is the 3rd worst miniature of the year. Not necessarily in miniature quality, but more in a burn it with fire kind of way. This is the Unholy Union from TT Combat for Carnivale, and it's absolutely disgusting. Now, yes, on the one hand, very cool. This is actually a pretty cool miniature. But sometimes you just need to take a step back and reassess, what the hell are you doing? What are you depicting? Whether this needs to exist, and what are you doing with your life? Seriously, isn't it time for that midlife crisis? This thing terrifies me, and I get the appeal. It fits the aesthetic of the Doctor's faction, but I collect the Vatican for a reason, and it's to purge whatever the hell this thing is. That's why this is my 3rd worst mini of the year, and I'm probably going to buy it anyway. God damn it. And next up we have another Games Workshop model, but this time it is the 3rd best of the year, and this is a miniature that I have no doubt will be appearing on most people's lists. The answer is so obvious it's almost trite. The one, the only, the Sedonia Skatros. Oh boy, people were so excited by this AtMech model that when it was revealed, they couldn't stop talking about it. Mostly about how it has made them rethink their entire relationship with Warhammer. Okay, so this was a very controversial model and people hated it, but not me. I loved it, and for the exact same reason that most people held it in contempt. This miniature single-handedly reminded me that at its heart, Warhammer 40k is all just a bit of fun. The tomes and tomes of lore are ultimately just wind. They fall away in the face of one tall boy and his big gun, and it drove a lot of people mad. But for me, this model is refreshing because it's a silhouette that we haven't seen in Warhammer before. It represents a genuinely imaginative direction for their miniature design. In a broader context, I think that GW have gotten pretty comfortable making the same models again and again, and they've slipped into a bit of a house style. They have exiled all the insane sculptors to the Necromunda line, and now they just turn out extremely simple similar models for each faction. But with the Sedonia and Skatros, someone got their hands on the AdMech brief and finally convinced a suit to let them just do whatever the hell they want. And as a result, we got this difficult to transport model. Clearly, it's silly. Clearly, it makes little sense, but equally clearly, it is unironically great. I'm so used to being able to predict Warhammer releases these days, even when they're new, they are rarely surprising to me. But this model did surprise, and for me, it was a sleeper hit. This model was the number 3 best model of the year, and I ain't even sorry. And next up, we have Star Wars once again, twice in one list, but on opposite sides of the spectrum. And that's the light, dark side spectrum, not the autistic one. This time, we're taking a journey to one of my favorite miniatures games, Star Wars Legions, and looking at their worst release ever. The models I've chosen are terrifying Imperial droids based on the very design of Darth Vader's suit. These are the Dark Troopers, and they are, of course, incredibly derpy. They look so stiff and lifeless and awkward. There's just no dynamism to any of these poses. There's no real interesting choices made by the designers in how to depict what should be terrifying machines of war. Instead, they just blandly point forward and awkwardly hold their guns. And what the hell is this fire effect? It looks like it came straight out of a PlayStation 1 game. I can count the polygons on this thing. And these are especially disappointing because the Star Wars Legion sculpts have been getting better and better and better with every year over the last few years. These feel like a real step back, and for that reason, they are my second worst models of the year. Okay, and now we're into the final brackets, because here is my second best model of the year. And they might be a pretty big surprise for most people, because they really aren't that big or in your face, or even a centerpiece. But that's what I love about them. From Footsore Miniatures, I give you the extremely excitingly named Military Order Knights on Foot #1. These are fantastic sculpts. Old school, heroic proportions, traditionally sculpted. Footsore are made up of people that have been in this business for a while, and you can really tell it with these models. These Templar are filled with character, and the poses are incredibly evocative, perfectly depicting the awkward thrust and chopping of blades in combat. I especially love this miniature with his blade held up horizontally, facing sternly towards the foe. Combine all this with some excellent military helms and some great looking robes, these models reminded me that a simple, clean design can still be really exciting. These are a classic riff, but beautiful and perfectly done. Well done, Footsore. And now we have the thing that everyone has been waiting for, the worst miniature of 2023. And this miniature isn't just offensive because of its poor quality, or that it has like a weird face or something. It's not a mistake that consigns this thing to the bin. Rather, this monstrous abomination in the eyes of both God and man has managed to climb all the way to the top mountain by the fact that it was intentionally designed, and it is this intentionality that is the worst element of the model. I am, of course, talking about the Space Marine Desolator Squad from Games Workshop. A Space Marine squad that are so bad that renowned custard-colored Space Marine fan Valrak actually made a video talking about something other than speculating about the return of another Primarch. That's when you know things are bad. But who can blame him? These are the worst new designs for the Space Marine faction since the Primaris Interceptors were conceived, presumably behind the bins of a Weatherspoons. And the reason for these models being here is obvious. The guns are ridiculously large, too large, and they look like Nerf guns. Even worse, the Space Marines wielding them don't seem to be handling any amount of weight at all. This Marine has the gun held up like it's a goddamn pistol. And genuinely, when I look on these models, I wonder if the bodies were even designed for these guns or for something else entirely. For me, the Desolation Squad are indicative of a rushed production schedule within Games Workshop. Because Games Workshop need to get new models out every single month, it seems like there's just no time for them at all to get distinctive looking models. These are a phone-in job. One Space Marine looks like any other, but with a slightly different weapon. And it is so apparent in this case. Someone somewhere just had the idea of, what if we give big gun to big man? And while laudable, there was just no real follow through. Just a half-hearted attempt at making something vaguely different. I hate these models. I think they look awful, and they are a very sad decline. We know the Games Workshop can do a lot better. They made way better Space Marines this year. It just so happened that those better Space Marines were designed for a completely different game line. So then, Space Marine Desolation Squad get this year's Golden Doom Rider Award 2023. Congratulations, Games Workshop, right in to accept your prize. But we're not done yet, because we have yet to talk about the best miniature of the year. And of course, it's the new Bretonnian Lord. What? Okay, so right, that model hasn't released yet, but 2024, it's looking pretty good. So I guess I have to pick another. But before I do, I want to give a shout out to this year of miniatures. There were so many amazing models, it was genuinely incredibly hard to pick the best one. I had a massive short list of dozens of models that all could have been included on this list. So a particular highlight then to Commander Farsight from Games Workshop, Death Leaper from Games Workshop as well, Ura Minis and Le Grognard Cavalry from War Games Atlantic, the entire Infinity range by Corvus Belli, but especially the Patchers Structural Response Team, Hamitsu School of Magic from Blackside Studios, Vampire Hunters 2 from Bad Squiddo Minis, Grixek Kressek from Relic Blade, Iconic Killer Crew from Spectre Miniatures, Rotten Harvest, It's Alive by Weird Games, Ironclad Drake by Parabellum Games, Chaos Knight by Black Scorpion Miniatures, and Satu Hachi by GCT Studios. All of these just barely missed my top 5, and all of them were incredible miniatures. But there can be only one, and I must admit that it was a massive surprise to me that when I reflected on the year and really thought, really dove into my subconscious to think what was my favorite model of 2023, I simply could not deny myself. My golden 2010 Archon goes to the Rogel Dorn tank from Games Workshop. Well done, Games Workshop! Look, okay, I am surprised as you are. This tank didn't make a big impression on me when it was first revealed, but it has really grown on me throughout the year. I'm not a big tank person, obviously, I'm quite weak. But I like my infantry, as this list attests. But when I think back to the model that gave me the most joy, the one that allowed me to exercise my creativity best, well, it just had to be the Rogel Dorn tank. I love this little guy, and I think for me, it's the dual turret and the profile of this boxy vehicle that makes it feel like it has sprung straight out of an RTS game. It really does remind me of all the best tanks in fiction. It brings to mind the siege tank in StarCraft and the heavy tank in Command & Conquer Red Alert. And even more surprisingly, the Rogel Dorn has quickly become the iconic tank of the Astra Militarum, replacing the Lehman Russ in my mind. And hey, I almost resented that at first, but now I've decided to just let it go. And yes, okay, it has no bottom, and the gun turret with the guy hanging on the back looks real weird, but built correctly, and that means with the dual turret, this thing comes out as an excellent sculpt, filled with character and just overall joy. So congratulations, Games Workshop, you've won both the worst and the best models of the year. Be sure to write in for this one too. Oh, and for anyone who disagrees with my rankings, just remember that this was an entirely objective list, determining and depicting material reality, so you're wrong. And you can apologize in the comments below. Oh, and if you want to get access to a super secret playtest of a very fun project next month, then you'll want to join up to my Patreon at patreon.com/discourseminis to join in on the fun. And a massive thanks to all my patrons, without which this year of videos would not have been possible, especially CryptoKev, Novani, and Travis Hunter. Have a great new year, and I'll see you all in 2024. Oh, and don't forget to click on the description link to get the special discount CyberGhost VPN is granting to our channel users. This application will protect your data while you browse and give you full access to all the blocked content on the internet for only $2.03 a month, and it's totally risk-free, so check it out. Link in the description below. Bye-bye!